Welcome back to the Uncharted podcast. Today I have a very special guest. He's actually someone that has come into the space and he has built multi-million dollar businesses. He has come and he is now a coach to brick and mortar businesses, giving people the tools they need to uplift people's profits and scale their businesses to higher lengths. And today I'm thankful to have Alvin with me today. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Alvin.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Isaac, for reaching out, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a real pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. So one of the things I've been doing a lot of research, and one thing I found out is you're a pharmacist before you got into this field.
Yeah, absolutely. So I studied as a pharmacist in Melbourne, Australia. So in theory, I am a pharmacist by profession. In fact, I sold my last pharmacy business a couple of years ago before I moved to Germany, living in Australia. So yeah, I went to pharmacy school for like 5 years, and that's how I sort of got into buying retail businesses because I was buying retail pharmacies as they were in Australia.
What drew you to that industry?
Ah, you know what? I had no desire to be a pharmacist. It just so happened that in my final year of a university, because, I was a pretty average student and I didn't really do much studying, but in my final year of high school, I was able to sort of put my head down and really do the work, right? And as a consequence, I got the grades to get into pharmacy school. But I had all these silly, well, in hindsight, probably silly things like medicine and to be an optometrist and all these a dentist, all these other vocations or career paths that because of the grades I thought I could get into. And the last one on that list, you get 6 choices in Australia, and the sixth one was pharmacy. So I got into pharmacy. So I never actually wanted to, I had no desire to be a pharmacist. But when I got into university and I studied, it was still, I didn't really enjoy it. However, you do an intern year in your final year. And it wasn't until I did my intern year that it all sort of clicked together. And I was like, dude, this is such a great profession because you get to help people and you can directly see the outcomes from helping these people. So I really enjoyed the profession in the end. But really, it was there was no real reason to get it. I just put it down there because I got the grades. I didn't really give it much thought.
Okay. So how was that transition from that to what you do now?
Yeah. Well, it is a slight transition. So basically, I was buying and selling pharmacy-based businesses in Australia. And then when we moved to Germany, I was working with a business coach at the time, Glenn, and he was kind of asking me, well, what are you going to do when you go to Germany? I was like, I have no idea. And he was the one that gave me the suggestion of, really should give back and start coaching people because you've got the experience and you're really good at implementing and learning everything I'm saying. So that's basically what I did. After a little bit of back and forth with him, I took his advice. So that was my transitioning. I needed, because I'd sold my last business, moving to another country, I wanted to do something that was location independent. I wanted to do something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy retail. I really enjoy working with people, and I really enjoy helping people. So this part, the coaching part, helping other retailers really fulfills all of those, all of my values and all the things that I want to achieve and the impact that I want to have with people.
Okay, great. Oh yeah. I love that you, after everything that you've accomplished, that you still want to give back to people. That's very commendable.
Yes, I think it's such a driving force, and I think if you speak to a lot of people, beyond money, helping other people and bringing about change and really making a difference really tends to be the driving force to do anything, because that's ultimately what makes you happy. When you create the change in someone else and you see someone else being happy from implementing the strategies that you've instilled with them. And ultimately, I believe when it comes to human beings, it's all about helping each other and helping other people. And I think it's a deep down value that we all have. We just don't realize it. And it's one of the keys to happiness.
Did you build those businesses that you built and sold? Did you ever have it in your mind that you were going to sell them?
So when I got my first business, when I got into my first business, I had literally no idea. I had bought into a partnership. There were a few stores, and I was sort of a little bit impatient, which is why I got a business coach. So I've always been using business coaches for my businesses, right? So I was a little bit impatient, but I had no idea that I wanted to sell. It was only when I started working with a coach that he instilled this idea that for you to get the best out of your business, you need to have a personal vision and all that kind of thing. But you also need to start to set up that business from the beginning so that you're going to sell it. Because there's a different mindset that happens when you start with the end in mind, even though you're not going to sell it. We've heard this all before with many other business coaches say the same thing. But really, once you know, or once you come up with the idea that you need to set up this business so it's ready for sale, that then allows you to work backwards. And only then do you really start to set up proper systems and procedures, and you start to really work on the business, which is what Michael Gerber always taught us what to do, not in it. So no, from the very first shop that I had no intention of selling it. But by working with my business coach, we set it up this way. So then eventually I was able to buy and sell very easily. And in fact, that is exactly what happened during with my last business, my last retail store. We were in the middle of COVID. COVID was really, really good for pharmacies. And at that, I was down to one shop at that time, and it was always ready to be sold because I hated working in the business. I work more on the business. That's what I really love. So when I decided to sell the business, it was so easy because everything was ready to go. So for the first one, I didn't realize the importance of it. But as I moved on within my retail buying and selling business career, it was always going to be set up to be sold.
So you've had mentors and coaches. For somebody that's getting into it, how important would you say for success is having coaches?
Yeah, I think it's really important for success, and for a few big reasons. One, you can tap into somebody else's expertise. Two, also, you got to think of it like having a coach or a consultant or a mentor is like having a board of directors for your company. So we know a lot of big businesses and a lot of smart people have board of directors as well. So you need to think of it the same way. It's really hard for you to know everything, to have the answers to every single problem. And it's so important to have somebody that you can call on, whether you're seeing them monthly or bi-weekly or whatever it is. So I'm always for having coaches, consultants, and mentors. I have one now. I've always had them. I've used them for other disciplines, not only business. So I'm really biased, and I think they're so important if you want to fast track your success and really be happy.
The argument of having a coach cuts down all of your time in gaining success because you can gain all of the wisdom that they have, and then it can take you to the top faster. But I've heard that other people say, well, maybe it'll startle your creativity. But say you're saying if you do it right and get the right coaches, they can skyrocket.
Absolutely. I think also the right coach, a really good coach, won't stifle your creativity. The right coach will ask you the right questions to become more creative and to, really exponentialize your output. So I don't think a coach, well, possibly there are, but a really good coach won't stifle your creativity. They'll allow you through the process of coaching to develop the best version of yourself in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve and implement in your life or business.
With everything in your businesses, how do you help your clients create more cash flow?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. A loaded question as well, because that's really one of my specialties. Because in the beginning, when I was running my businesses, I had no idea about cash flow. And it wasn't until I was taught it that it really blew my mind. But I think there are some basic fundamentals when it comes to cash flow and retail businesses, but also all businesses as well, because this is one of the fundamentals. And I know that when you're running a retail business, the first thing is you need to understand the flow of cash through your business. So you need to start tracking your cash flow. So important, because only then can you start to see what's happening under the hood in your business. And what happens is a lot of business owners, we either are really scared of cash flow because we don't understand the numbers and we overcomplicate it, or we bury our heads in the sand and we just ignore it altogether. So then one of the key things to do is to track your cash flow in a very simple manner. And after you've been tracking it for some time, it's then starting to forecast your cash flow after that. So what it does is, just by this really simple act, you really start to get a feel for where the money is going in your business. And typically with retail businesses, because we're dealing most likely with large amounts of stock and delayed supplier payments, it can be like, wearing X-ray glasses. You can really start to see what's happening and where the funds are going in your business.
Would you say that could be your downfall if you don't pay attention to that in the beginning?
Absolutely. It's a downfall for most and nearly all businesses, and even the big businesses as well. If you take your eye off the cash flow ball, you'll all of a sudden run out of cash in your bank account. You won't be able to pay yourself. You won't be able to pay your bills. You won't be able to pay your team. And it's really once you run out of cash, it's really the beginning of the bottom. You start spiraling down. So you really need to stay on top of it. And you can actually get out of a cash flow crunch and a cash crunch. It's really, there are some simple steps that you can take. But yeah, it's so important to stay on top of it.
You mentioned one thing that I wanted to ask you about. You said paying yourself. I looked at this. You said pay yourself first. Why is that?
Aha. Yes. So this is a really important strategy that was taught to me. So when you are running a business, it's really important to make sure that you've got your vision and your mission in mind. What I really like to work with my clients is, we have this business, we have this retail business. What do we want it to provide for us? So the business is a vehicle to fund our lifestyle. And that leads to a whole heap of motivating factors that allows us to work on the business, because it gets really challenging when you're working with a coach and you're trying to work your business. But one of the most important things to do is to ensure that you're paying yourself first. So when you start to think of it like that, and you start to optimize for how much money that you're paying yourself, you then start to subconsciously and consciously, you start to become more aware of the expenses that are coming out of your business. You start to become more aware of profitability. So basically, is what you're doing is you're taking some money, you're putting it in another bucket, which is your money, and all of a sudden you've got a finite amount of money left over to run your business. And I think that's really, really important. You should be constantly making sure that you pay yourself first and then run your business with what's left over. It just allows you to be more lean, more efficient. Obviously, there's a process that which you need to follow, and it's always best to work with someone to do that.
Talking about hiring a team, did you immediately hire somebody, or did you do it all yourself with a coach before you started building a team?
Yes. So for the first store, we already had a team in place. So I bought an existing business, but it's about optimizing the team, and it is about bringing the team together and creating what I call a rock star team. So, and that's a really important part of running a retail business, and really a really important part of running any business, because ultimately it's the team cohesion. It's going to be the team that you put together that are going to grow your business and drive your business forward, because eventually you're going to be the person that's working on the business, directing the team. So the team is so important. It's so important that you cultivate the right team, that you're constantly hiring, you're constantly training your team, you're creating an environment where your team want to come to work and actually work and serve your customers. So the team is so important when it comes to retail and really any business. Having a high performing team and creating one is paramount.
What would you say is one key thing to creating a high performing team?
Okay. One key thing is to always be hiring. So this is a mistake that a lot of business owners, especially retailers, make, is that we kind of hire when it becomes too late, when somebody leaves our store and there's a hole, if you will. I always like to ensure that my clients are always hiring. So what that means is we always have a running ad on one of the job platforms going on our website. We're always accepting resumes, and I work on an application system. So we're always receiving applications, because you just don't know when you're going to get a superstar that comes through. And if you can interview them properly, if you know how to interview and you know how to read that person, bringing in a superstar into your business can exponentially grow your profits and revenue. So I think that's one of the key things. And actually, I want to add like a 1B to that, which is to be really clear on the positions within your store. So that let's be really clear what your hierarchy of positions, what every team member is doing in store. And it's just as simple as taking 5 minutes to think about position descriptions for each of them, each of the different positions within the store, so you know exactly what this team member is doing, and you also know how to hire because it's all clear in your head. So I think those 2 points are so important, which are often overlooked by bricks and mortar retailers and really all business people.
So with hiring, and you said watching people with what they do, making sure they're clear on what their job is so they're not wasting time while they're working. What is a good strategy to manage a good team?
Okay, so the big strategy is to make sure that your team members are really clear on what they are there to do. Especially in retail, we hire people, and we typically hire a lot of juniors to come into our business, and we expect them to sell, and we expect them just to serve customers without any clear foundational rules on what that looks like within your business, what that looks like to serve your ideal customers. So I think it's really important that each person, each position has a clear description of what's expected from them. So what's expected in terms of their daily duties, what they're meant to be doing on a daily basis, and what their outputs are meant to be. Are they just there to serve on the counter, or are they also there on a sales capacity? If they're in a sales capacity, how much should they be selling every day? So we want to make it really clear for this team member, like what is expected of them. And I think that's one of the keys. We don't have, as business owners, clear position descriptions and clear expectations of what our team member is meant to do. And as a consequence, we don't get the best out of our team member because really they haven't been guided on what's expected of them and what's expected best outcomes for them. So that's really, really important. And I think the second part as well is continued team training. It's so important, especially in retail, that we have some sort of system in place that we're constantly making sure that our team members are constantly trained. We check in with them, we review their performance. This is all part of creating a high-performing team.
One thing with people talk about is hidden cash. Like, what if somebody's in this space, what does that mean?
So what a lot of business owners don't realize, and especially a lot of retailers don't realize, is there's quite a lot of hidden cash in your business. What do I mean by that? I mean that you don't need to spend money on marketing to release this hidden cash in your business. And just some examples of hidden cash in your business, things especially in retail, is many of us have a lot of inventory. Inventory is like the life and blood of our bricks and mortar stores. And if we have excess inventory, or what we call dead inventory, so that means it hasn't sold in a particular amount of time, as retailers, we tend to hang on to that stock because we think, man, we've paid for that stock, we've invested money into it, I really don't want to let it go. But what I'm here to challenge you with is, after a particular amount of time, you need to think of that dead stock as cash. Is that better sitting on your shelf or in your storeroom or under the gondola in the store? Or should you just sacrifice it, turn it into cash, and then use that to buy more stock or keep that money in the bank account? So one of the first stages I work with my retail clients is to really find this hidden cash in our business, because we all have excess stock lying around somewhere in the store. It's just that we haven't attended to it. And just by selling it off at a discounted price, or there are other strategies that we use, it's a very quick way of flushing your bank account with cash.
What are, say, three first steps with getting into a business like this that somebody should take if they were starting at ground level?
Okay, starting it from scratch. Excellent. You have a tremendous opportunity when you're starting a business from scratch. It's not my preference that we start a retail business from scratch. I always say we should buy an existing business because you've got existing cash flow and existing customers. However, if you're starting one from scratch, a couple of things you need to be aware of. One, you need to know exactly who your ideal customer is, which is why I said in the beginning, this is a tremendous opportunity if you're starting from scratch, because hopefully you have some sort of idea of what products you're selling and services you're selling within your store. So really making sure that you understand your ideal customer. So important. Or your target customer, right? So that's another vernacular for it. So making sure you're super clear on that. You've done the profiling, you really understand their pain points, their challenges, etc. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I want to make sure that you actually have a vision for the store, like a mission and vision. It's a cliched thing, but a lot of people don't realize how important that is for your team, for yourself, and where you're actually driving this business. So having a mission and vision for your store is so important. Number three, you're going into business, and that is why. So and that's the most important thing, is really understanding why are you starting up this retail store? What do you want it to provide? So this is what I'm talking about, having a personal vision for yourself. What do you want this business to provide for you? And this is the most important thing, because when things get really tough in your business, and they will, whether you're working with a coach or not, what is going to be the thing that is going to be driving you forward? What is going to be the thing that, when it comes to 11 p.m. at night and you're in your store and you're like, oh man, I give up, or this is too hard? What is going to be the thing that's going to be driving you forward? So having a personal vision for yourself, a why. Simon Sinek talks about this a lot, having a why.
Yes.
Having a clear purpose for what you want this business to provide for you and what you want your life to look like is so important. So those are the three things I would make sure that before you start a bricks and mortar store from scratch.
I've wondered, you said, when you've built all of these businesses, is there such a thing as a balanced lifestyle?
Absolutely. Yep. I don't hesitate with that, because that's exactly what I was taught when I was running my businesses. It was all about balanced lifestyle. So what we need to understand is, what is a balanced lifestyle mean to you? Everybody has a different definition of balanced lifestyle. For me, a balanced lifestyle is, because I know exactly what my values are, and we were talking about that in the previous part about understanding my mission and vision in life. I know exactly what I want, and I know exactly what I need to be happy. And for me, that's travel, adventure, freedom, and to provide value. So all of those things are so important. So once I know that, I could then set up my businesses to fulfill my values. I could set up my businesses so I would only work 20 hours a week or whatever I wanted to, and work on the business rather than in it. So balanced lifestyle is really important, but a lot of people don't know what a balanced lifestyle means for them. So we need to figure that out, what that means for you. It's different things for different people. And then it's working backwards to set up your business so it allows you to live that balanced lifestyle. So it's so important. So absolutely.
What has been an escape for you? It's like you're going 20, 30, 40 hours a week and all this different. What does it mean for you to step away from the business to clear your head? What does that look like for you?
Okay, so I think if the escape from the business, I don't like that concept, although I recognize it is real, because there are people working in the weeds in their business and they need to escape. So I guess in a sense, I was very lucky that I escaped, because I'm not escaping from anything, because I had set up these businesses to provide the lifestyle that I wanted. However, the big takeaway and the big tool that I still use today, I think, is meditation. And I still meditate today. I think meditating is such a useful tool for everybody, not just retail business owners, because it allows you to be more present. And when you're more present, you can make decisions a lot quicker. You can make decisions with impact. You're a lot more focused. And I think it's a great way of being still. And I think stillness is so important, especially in this day and age with so much going on, and multimedia and our phones and everything, and running our businesses. So right now, I don't use meditation as an escape as such. It's like a foundational practice, a daily practice. And it's not something, it's something that I recommend to a lot of business owners and to everyone, but it's nothing I can force you into. So people have their own version of a daily grounding practice, whether that might be playing sport or running or doing art or whatever it is for you. You need to find that bit that adds foundation to your life, and to move you away from thinking about escaping rather than thinking about living and how to best live your life.
If you do it right, you shouldn't have to escape from it.
Yes. What are you escaping from?
I've heard other people talk about an escape because it becomes so much and everything, but to have that point of view to where if you build it up right from the ground, or if you buy into it and you build a culture that you want, then there's no reason for you to escape.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Now, okay, it's easier said than done, right? There's a whole process for that. And, you know, some people like the grind. Some people like being in there and hustling, going hard and that kind of, you know, and doing that 50-hour days and weeks or whatever. That's cool. That's not me. That's not my style. That's not the kind of clients I resonate. I'm very much lifestyle focused and very much doing the minimum amount of work and having the greatest amount of impact.
When you're in this kind of business and you have expenses everywhere, how do you bring down your expenses?
Really good point. I think, and it's the first thing that all business owners and retailers should be doing is having a system in place to reduce their expenses. And really, it is just a matter of analyzing your expenses, which most business owners do. And many business owners might occasionally go through their expenses and then try and work out on ways of reducing them. But what works really worked really well for me, works really well for my clients, is having a system in place. And that really is as simple as, depending on your business, either every month or every quarter, just a little diary entry, and you're going to spend 1 hour just going through your expenses and calling up the suppliers, calling up the different vendors, electricity suppliers, gas suppliers, whatever it is, and just renegotiating or just having a conversation with them. That's the easiest way to do it. Of course, there are more complicated ways of doing it, but the easiest thing where we all should start is put an entry in our diary saying we're going to focus this hour on calling our suppliers and reducing expenses and getting some money off, is the first step that we all should be doing.
You think it's an absolute must to create systems to propel you forward?
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so big on systems and procedures because ultimately, when we walk away, when we go traveling, when we go to the beach, or if we're at home, what are your team going to follow? And so systems are really important for that. So then you can document the processes and your team can follow it. Also, for yourself as a business owner, there's going to be so many things going on. And there are so many things going on. And for you to make quick decisions and for you to move through situations in your store very quickly, it's so much easier for you to have a system, because then you don't really need to think. You've done the thinking once and you just roll the system out. So it's like, oh, I need to do this. How do I do that again? Rather than racking your brains trying to figure it out again, let's pull up that system. Ah, yes, that's how we did it, and just roll with it. You're going to be far more productive because you've already laid the foundations. And sure, you might improvise and optimize while you're rolling, say in this case, while you're doing the expenses. You might improvise and on that system, in which case you would document it as well. But systems and procedures are so important, not only for your team, but for you as well. It just takes the thinking out, that hard thinking, because you know, when you're in a crazy situation, wherever you are in your business, and you need to make some really quick decisions, just following a system is so much easier.
When you get into the business and you have all these systems down, what is one thing for you that has worked in having your people buy into the systems that you're putting in front of them?
Yes, that's a great question, because really you can have a whole stack of systems and procedures, but unless you've got buy-in from the team, they're not going to follow it through. So I think what's really important here is to share your mission and vision for the store, because really that's where it all starts from. That's how your team sort of understand what you're trying to create with this business, not your personal vision and mission. That's between you and your spouse, or you and your coach, but the store, because then your team will understand what you're trying to create here. What are you trying to create in the community? Who are you trying to serve? So that's the first thing, making sure that your team members understand the mission and vision for your store. And then from there, it's really about engaging the team, making sure that you've got those position descriptions, making sure that you've got regular team trainings. And also the missing piece as well is you need to review your team members regularly. So a team review, or a review for each individual person that you schedule perhaps every quarter, is so important. And what it is what we're doing is we're having these touch points continuously along the way of the journey of your employees in your store, along with either yourself or your manager. And I think that's really, really important. Quite often as retail business owners, we just throw people in and we expect them to swim. I guess because we think this is retail, everybody knows how to sell, everybody knows how to, we just teach them how to work the register and take money. But if you want to create an amazing business, a highly profitable business, where it provides, your dreams and futures, then you really need to start nurturing your team.
What are some red flags for you?
Okay. Some red flags for me when I'm purchasing a business, and I still do this regularly, is making sure. So some people see this as an opportunity, but I see this as a red flag, is when things are totally disorganized. When I buy an existing business, I want to make sure that the cash flow is coming through, that the customers are happy, that the business is not in decline. So there are some people who take the other approach, who buy distressed businesses. But for me, it's really important to make sure that we have a sense that there's cash coming into the business. It's really profitable and it remains profitable, unless you can be really, really sure that you can turn it around. But that's a totally different skill set. So that's what I would ensure. Make sure that you're buying a profitable business with existing cash flow and existing revenue, and it looks stable and it looks good. The second part is, ideally, we want to make sure that there is some sort of second layer of management in place, because that makes it so much easier for you, the new owner, then to start implementing things, because there's already a certain amount of structure in there.
How many red flags does it take for you not to be interested anymore?
Oh, it's really, there's top three. So making sure that, the cash flow is positive, that it's profitable. Want to make sure that there's second layer of management. Another thing that's really important is the organization of the store, and not only on a management level, but looking at it in store, because I don't want to buy a dump that's totally crazy, because when you're buying a dump, that usually means then that the employees are all a certain way as well. They're used to living in this dump of a store as well. I'm not the turnaround guy. I like to buy really good businesses that aren't seeing their potential fully, not the turnaround guy. So those are my three red flags.
What is one thing for you that is essential for business growth as a leader?
Good question. What is one thing that's essential for me as business growth as a leader?
For you personally.
Okay, what I think is really important for growth is what I touched on earlier, is making sure that I have a personal vision for myself. So that means I actually know what I want this store to provide for me. I actually know what I want my ideal lifestyle to look like. So then we can start to create this business, to work this business so it funds my lifestyle. So knowing exactly what I want is so important. Really, the factor that helps you so much, you work backwards, you create everything from your why. And when things get really, really tough, it'll help you work through that why as well.
For somebody that is jumping in or investor and they're having dark times, some encouragement for you to not give up.
Absolutely. So I think if you're running into tough situations in business, in your store, in your bricks and mortar store, one of the main things to do is really focus on the fundamentals. And you will find that a lot of big businesses, when they do go belly up or when they're a little bit of trouble, they forget about the fundamentals. So that's what I would really invite you to look at within your store. Really, really take it back to the basics. Focus on your cash flow, really focus on your profitability. Make sure your team are up to scratch and they are moving in the right direction, and really look after the fundamentals. I can't harp on that enough. So going back to basics, doing the simple, plain things to set the foundation, so that when you start to move forward, you can move forward with velocity. But you can't do that unless you've got the foundation set up properly.
What is your goal now? Are you just wanting to do coaching? Where is your road leading you now?
Yeah, sure thing. So for me, it's freedom, adventure, and travel. So I love doing all of those things, and I'm doing all of that now. So that's my first principal goal in life, is to continue to live this amazing life. The second thing, so yes, I'm coaching bricks and mortar retail businesses. I focus mainly on the US and Australia and the UK. So I'm continuing doing that. I'm also using the same skills, and I'm actually buying businesses as well. Not retail businesses, but I'm using my skills to buy businesses, and I'm concentrating in the UK. So I'm doing that. I've also got a couple of investments that I'm doing as well. So I'm doing all the fun things that I love.
So you put in all the work, and I was like, now I'm going to go have fun and do what I want to do.
That's right. In fact, that happened from the beginning. Once I first got a coach, and once we realized, so see, that's really important to me, but for somebody else, that's not going to be as important. What was really taught to me by my first business coach was, if this is what's important to you, this is what's going to make you happy, then this is how we need to set everything up. But people are different. Some people don't like travel and venture. Some people are happy to be in their business and work 30 hours a day. And that's cool too. So I think it's really figuring out what you want and setting everything up around that.
How important is it having a circle of people that don't buy into your excuses?
I think that's so important, not only to bounce ideas off, but they're also a motivating factor as well, because you can talk to them. And, if you're ever in a funk, your trusted advisors all around you, so to speak, will really pep you up and show you what's possible. And in fact, that show you what's possible is such an important thing as well, because when you're moving together with a collective of people and you're all on this journey together, and it's so motivating and enduring that you're going through this journey together. And I think it's so important.
When people came to you, when you were in the Pharmacist, what was it like for people to come to you, and were people breaking you down, or people encouraging you to stay in the Pharmacist, just take the road that everybody is and not take the road less traveled?
Yes, it's a really good question. So what happened was I actually travel, as we all know now, is one of my biggest adventure and freedom are my biggest values. So I was traveling after university. I worked for a few years and then I traveled, and I had a really, really big car accident. I got hit by a truck in Laos, in Southeast Asia, and I lost my elbow nearly. And I was in surgery, and then I had 6 months off work. And as I was recovering and dropping in and out of consciousness, so to speak, I had this cliched epiphany, like, oh my God, I'm doing nothing with my life, because I didn't really care about school. I really got the feeling that I was wasting my life, and being hit by that truck was the impetus for me. Now, you don't have to get into an accident to get a kick up the bum, but that's what happened for me. So as soon as I recovered, as soon as I was able to work again, because I ended up having 8 months off, a couple of rounds of surgeries, sitting at home doing stuff. And after that, it was just go, because I just realized how short my life can be, because in a matter of seconds, I could lose my life again. So that was a real impetus for me. So as soon as I was able to drive my car again, because I was one-handed for about 6 months, I just got into it. And I really knew exactly what I wanted, that life was too short. And I just put my blinkers on and I went straight for it. So yes, there were people telling me that you're too young to get into business, or you should just be an employee and all that kind of thing. But I really knew that wasn't, life is too short. I didn't want to do that. So I just went for it. And that was really one of the first driving factors for me, the fact that I'd nearly lost my life so quickly. And that's what really propelled me forward. So not necessary to get hit by a truck and nearly lose your life in the middle of Southeast Asia. But we often hear of these moments where people get to their lowest points, right? And that really, really lights the fire in their bottom. And I say that's exactly what happened to me.
Well, thank you, Alvin, for coming on the podcast and giving some insight and some valuable gems on how people can grow in this industry, wisdom that you have gone years in getting, so people don't have to go back and do all those potholes and such as that. And thank you, and take care.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you for having me on the show. And of course, if you are a bricks and mortar retailer and you need some help growing your business, I'm sure Isaac is going to put the links to how you can get in touch with me in the bio notes. And if you're watching this, just Google me. You'll see all our digital assets come up. You can get in touch with me very, very